Hello everyone, welcome to Dundee Science Centre Antarctica Week. I'm really delighted to be with you today to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Rebecca Wade, I work at Abertay University and I have plans to travel to Antarctica. So I'm really pleased that the staff at Dundee Science Centre asked me to come along and speak to you. I hope you enjoy the show. So first I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I do in Dundee, and then we're going to talk about my plans for visiting Antarctica. In Dundee, I'm a lecturer at Abertay University. So I'm not very far away from Dundee Science Centre or from the RRS Discovery when I'm normally at my work. I've always loved having a look at the Discovery and thinking about the adventures that this ship built in Dundee had when it travelled to Antarctica. I know that you've all learnt a lot about the RRS Discovery from Ali, the education officer on board just now, and had some fantastic activities to do. But I'm excited to go myself. I know that when the RRS Discovery went to Antarctica in 1901, there was no question that any women scientists could go to Antarctica. It was a continent, a place where only men went, only explorers, and they were all men. So I'm really excited to tell you my story as a woman scientist who's planning to go to Antarctica from Dundee. So what I do in Dundee is that I'm a senior lecturer in environmental science at Abertay University. I do teaching and research. I do public talks and school engagement. In fact, I've been to quite a few schools in the Dundee area, so you might have met me. I also do conferences and travel. When I'm doing teaching at Abertay, I teach on the Civil and Environmental Engineering programme. I think it's a fantastic programme because the engineers and environmental scientists together need to work for our future in order to make sure that we've got sustainable environments to live in and that our buildings and places can cope with climate change and all of the things that the future challenges might throw at us. I also teach environmental science and technology, trying to figure out how we can most sustainably manage our landscape, and again, teaching the next generation of environmental scientists to deal with those challenges. We also carry out research, and some of the research I do relates to ecosystem services. Now that sounds like quite a mouthful, but it means the benefits that we get from nature. I also look at river restoration, making sure natural processes can happen in river systems so that they're better for the environment and for people, and sustainable water management in our towns and cities and on farms and in rural areas. And one of the ways we can describe that is blue and green infrastructure. So thinking about the places and spaces where we can try to store and absorb water, where we can provide areas for plants, vegetation and biodiversity. So to sum me up, I really am interested in working with sustainable environments to provide benefits for planet and for people. And what we figured out is that that's also good for our economy and for health and for well-being. So I'm lucky to do a job that I love. I really have always loved learning about places, and studying geography was one of the ways that I could do that more. I really enjoy working with other people and working with people that don't have the same knowledge as me. So I'm an environmental scientist who works a lot with engineers and planners, sometimes with artists and musicians, and often with people that are stakeholders in the environment. So they might be landowners or farmers or people who manage our cities or community groups. And that leads me to always try to understand the environment from other people's perspective. And only by doing that do I think that we can come up with some of the solutions that we need. I love asking questions. I want to know, why does the world look the way it does? How have we changed it? And what's this thing called climate change? What's it going to do to our environment and to us? And the picture on this slide is a picture of me working with some colleagues in Brazil, when we were studying very different environments from Scotland and thinking about how we could more sustainably manage the water environment in communities and environments that are quite different to our own. But what you want to hear about is my Antarctic plans. And I can't help but start with the RRS Discovery. Of course, science and environment has a big legacy from the RRS Discovery in Dundee. And we can learn so much about past and future climates from the science that was carried out on the RRS Discovery. Isn't it amazing that it was the first ship that was built specifically for research? So it had its capacity to carry out experiments and to collect data and to help us to learn more about this really remote continent at the bottom of our planet. So the RRS Discovery, the Royal Research Ship Discovery, is really something to be proud of in Dundee. So in order to follow in the footsteps of the RRS Discovery, we'll need to travel to Antarctica, and it's going to be quite a journey just getting there. The first stop is the very southern tip of Argentina, a place called Ushuaia. You can see one of the former homeward bound participants standing there beside the town sign, Ushuaia. Underneath it says Fin del Mundo, the end of the earth, because it's the very southern tip of the South American continent. So once we're there, we will have an orientation and get to know a little bit about our trip, and we will then board our ship, which is called the Ushuaia. The ship has the same name as the town. It's registered in that town and it has that name. And it's a very, very strong ship. It's capable of breaking through sea ice if we need it to do so, just as the RRS Discovery had a specially strong hull so that it could break through the sea ice when it needed to do so. You can see that the ship, the Ushuaia, is a very big ship, that it has a strong hull, that it doesn't have too many windows on the outside. And that's going to be important as we travel across the Southern Ocean and through the Drake Passage to Antarctica, because the waves can be very, very tall, 12 or 20 meters tall. And the ship can rock from side to side as it gets hit by the waves going across around the Southern Ocean. So I think that's going to be really quite an adventure, not only getting to the south of South America, but getting from South America to Antarctica. Sometimes the Drake Passage can be nice and calm, and sometimes they call it the Drake Shake because it shakes you around. It's very, very rough. So here's a map to let you see where I'm talking about. We've got the map of Antarctica on the right-hand side, showing you the Antarctic Peninsula. The little bit sticking out like a handle is the Antarctic Peninsula. And if you look on the left-hand side, you can see the Drake Passage, and that orange arrow shows you where the Drake Passage is on the big Antarctica map on the side there. So I'll be going to the south of South America and travelling across the Drake Passage through the Southern Ocean to get to the Antarctic Peninsula. And most of the time that we're in Antarctica, we'll be visiting research stations on the Antarctic Peninsula. And those research stations are from lots of different countries. So you can see in some red writing on the Antarctic Peninsula on the Antarctica map, Palmer Station, that's a United States station, and Rothera Station, which is a British station, a UK station. So we hope to be able to visit those as well as some other research stations from our ship when we travel to the Antarctic Peninsula. And hopefully when we get there, the seas will be nice and calm like these photos show. There'll be blue skies and no wind, and I'm sure the waves won't make me feel seasick at all. So please cross your fingers for me. I hope that's the case. When I travel to Antarctica, I'll be with 80 other women in STEM. STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Maths and Medicine. STEM with a double M. We come from all other continents of the world. So there are women from Africa, from Australia, from Europe, from Asia, from North America, and from South America. and together we'll be travelling to the 7th continent, to Antarctica. While we're there, we're going to learn from each other, we're going to learn from the scientists in Antarctica, and we're going to learn about leadership in science, technology, engineering, maths, and medicine. And collectively, we all hope to try and make an impact on climate change and to improving the planet for the future. When we're not on the big ship, the ice-breaking Ushuaia, we'll be able to get onto these smaller boats that will take us to landings on the southern peninsula, on the Antarctic peninsula. We'll be able to get a closer look at wildlife, and we'll be able to view the continent and also to visit some of the research bases there. Here's an image of the women from the Homeward Bound programme, the Women in STEM, taking a visit onto the ice on one of the previous trips. And last year, when the Women in STEM visiting Antarctica were there was a celebration for the 60th anniversary of the Antarctic Treaty. Now, you may have heard of Antarctica, but you might not have heard of the Antarctic Treaty. It's a really important agreement between lots of different nations that are involved with or interested in Antarctica. And the agreement says that there will be a peaceful and scientific collaboration on the continent of Antarctica. So for 60 years, there has been agreement for peace and science on the continent of Antarctica. And I think that's a wonderful thing. I know that one of the things you've been looking at this week is penguins, and my goodness, I'm looking forward to seeing those penguins myself. I hope that you've learnt now some of the different types of penguins that live in Antarctica, and maybe you've even tried doing some penguin walking, keeping your feet quite close together and your arms by your sides and waddling across the house, being a penguin. Perhaps you've tried to measure yourself. Are you as tall as a chinstrap penguin? Or maybe you're as tall as an emperor penguin. Maybe you've measured other members of your family to see how tall they are compared to our penguins. They all look different, and they all have very different habits and bring up their young in different ways on different parts of the continent at different times of the year. There's lots of fascinating facts to learn about penguins. Here's a macaroni penguin looking straight at us. But it's not just penguins in Antarctica. There's various species of whale, lots of different whales, and lots of different seals to be found in Antarctica. Elephant seals, all sorts of seals. The one here looks like it's having a lovely time sunbathing and rolling around on the snow. But these are the big creatures that we can easily see if we visit Antarctica. There are some smaller and microscopic creatures that are really, really important to the food chain that we mustn't forget about. And they have developed some really important survival skills. Little microscopic creatures living in the frozen waters have developed ways of stopping themselves from freezing. They have special fluid in their bodies that can almost act like antifreeze to stop them from freezing in the cold temperatures. And all of these survival skills and all of these creatures of all sizes are really, really important to the food webs and the food chains of the Southern Ocean and of Antarctica. And these are some of the things that the scientists are studying in the Antarctic research bases and on the Antarctic islands around the Southern Ocean. So I've tried to provide you with a little postcard from Antarctica, a little preview of some of the things that I might be doing or might be seeing when I go to Antarctica. I haven't got there yet. I can't wait to travel. And with the current situation, I don't quite know when I'm going to be able to go. But I will go, and when I come back, I'll be telling you all about it. I'll work with Dundee Science Centre to make sure that you get a follow-up postcard from Antarctica. One of the reasons we're going to Antarctica as a big group of women in STEM is that we know that we need to have more women scientists, and we need to have more women climate scientists, and we need to have more people from all sorts of diversity that are coming into science, technology, engineering, medicine, and maths. Because if we get lots of people around the table doing the science and sharing the information, we'll make better decisions for our planet. And if we make good decisions for our planet, the planet will help to look after us right back. So one of our phrases in Homeward Bound is Mother Nature needs her daughters. So sometimes the earth or nature is called Mother Nature. And we think that making sure that plenty of girls and boys going into science is a really good thing. So I encourage you to keep in touch with the Science Centre and make sure that you keep learning and keep asking questions. So thank you very much for listening to me today. I hope you've really enjoyed the Dundee Science Centre Antarctica themed week, and I really look forward to catching up with you again when I return from Antarctica and when I can give you a follow-up on my own experiences of surviving the rough seas and visiting the Antarctic research stations and saying hello to the penguins. Enjoy your Antarctica themed week and keep tuning in to Dundee Science Centre activities. Take care. Bye-bye.